Can an ex-spouse inherit from you? It's a great question, and the answer to the question is absolutely yes. Some people don't believe me because they'll go, well, our state law says they can't. Well, they still can. Let me explain how that works. And I'll tell you in a story. So I had this young woman, Filipino girl, come to my office one day with her child. She had moved here just 2 years ago. She wasn't very accustomed to the laws of America, but her husband, who was much older, and she was about 30, he was 58. It was his second marriage. He passed away from a massive heart attack. The first thing I do is I sit down and we go through the intake, we go through everything, and we try to figure out, where's his property? What did he do to actually structure his estate planning? And he hadn't really done anything. And so he had no will that we knew of, that she knew of. I said, well, you are the surviving spouse. You have a right to probate his estate. She hired me to file for a probate because she needed a home to stay at. As we went through the process, things began to be revealed. So we filed for probate. I had informed her at this point, under Texas law, she was not going to inherit certain property of his. It would pass to his children. There were certain rights that she had to certain things, but most of his property was going to pass to his two older kids and to the young child that she had, which was his third child. That was kind of a shock for her, but she was willing to accept that, understanding that, hey, this is the law, this is what's happening. And so we were going through the process of setting everything up, and I explained to her, but you have homestead rights, you have a life estate right in the house, you have a right to live there for the rest of your life if you so desire. And so as we went through everything, the bulk of his assets were held in his 401k. As we went through the process and we showed up at the court hearing, surprise was dropped upon us. It was his ex-wife, who he had been in litigation for the past 8 years of his life, suing her repeatedly, and she owed him a lot of money. Well, she showed up and said, I have a will, I get everything. And she had kept his old will. Well, under Texas state law, she no longer can inherit under that will because they are divorced. And so we don't allow that trick to be pulled. And so the judge had to inform her, you aren't going to inherit under the law. You don't inherit. You are cut out, and it goes to the beneficiaries that are designated herein. But the will is still a valid will. It doesn't go away. And so we had to admit his will to probate, which left his property to his children. And because of the new child, this new child is what we call a pre-terminated child, and that child gets included also. So basically, it was kind of doing what the law stated. However, there was a new issue. Even though his ex-wife was listed as executor and she was cut out, who was not cut out was his ex-wife's father as the executor and trustee of all the property of the children. This created a big problem because even though the law stated that she couldn't do anything, because the grandfather was the grandfather of the two older children, he was still allowed to be the executor and the trustee. And of course, his daughter did not like the new wife. And so began the disaster of what she had to deal with. And that was her father using that position to make her life miserable. Well, the story continues to go on. She was hoping to inherit his 401k, but we received the shock that over the past 8 years, he never removed his ex-spouse as the beneficiary of his 401k. Well, 401ks aren't run by state law. There are ERISA policies. They're run by federal law. And under federal law, there is no law that takes away ex-spouses as beneficiaries. His ex-wife inherited $800,000 of that 401k. This was a shocking event, and many people in the family are very upset. Most of the family on his side was siding with the new wife because they wanted to help her because she had the young child and she was the wife, and they were very upset. They were upset with me. They were upset with everything that I couldn't get this $800,000 back as part of the estate. Well, there were some tricks that we could do because there were some lawsuits out there and different things that she owed money on and we could make claims against. And so we were able to pull the money part of the money back into the estate and give it to the client. But that was because she was lucky, because there were judgments against this lady. Most people don't have that type of stuff. Can ex-spouses inherit? Absolutely. If things are not set up correctly. So how do you prevent the ex-spouse from inheriting? That's in the next video, and I'm going to teach you the process of how you can protect your estate from an ex-spouse and what you need to do.